Daniel's just going to share a few concepts um, regarding the Nationwide products and solutions that we offer, just a few bullet points on what we do for families when it comes to that. And of course, if you have any other questions on that, you can always work with your trainer and talk with Jimmy's our trainer as well with our external partner with Nationwide Financial. He's a great resource and helps us out a lot. And I got to say, it's been great working with Nationwide as well, and all of our providers, but especially Nationwide, working with them. We do put these solutions together to really do the right thing for families and making sure it's the right solution for in place. So it's very important, and appreciate partners like Nationwide and others that help us do that and makes our job easier in the field as we're helping families. So I'm going to promote him the panelist here, and hopefully he should be able to share his screen and speak. So, all right, Daniel, can you?
I can hear.
Here we go. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, Daniel. We appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. I appreciate the introduction there, and really happy to be a part of your call. Anything that we could do on our side, we have such a huge team here to help you out with all the questions that you may run into, whether it's product solutions or being able to work through a concept. We have a whole desk here, including Jimmy and I, that can help you with that. It looks like when I try to share my screen, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So if that could be fixed, that would be great. So I can get that moving here.
Yep.
Awesome. Appreciate that. All right. Well, still not able to do anything on my end here. All right. I think something changed there. Perfect. All right. So this is my direct contact. I'm one of the national trainers here Nationwide. We do a ton of webinar content that you have access to. If you go to this nationwidefinancial.com/WFG/webinars, you can actually register for this live content. There's a ton of topics available to you, but we wanted to make sure you had access to that first and foremost. But with that being said, I'm not going to take too much time talking through that. I really just want to go in here and talk about our options that we have here at Nationwide. And I will try to get this piece out to everybody, maybe to the leader, and you could distribute accordingly. But this is a really good piece. If you want to know how to work with Nationwide and working with solutions as you're uncovering those opportunities, whether it's a term, whether it's something more advanced, this is a good place to go to sort of get started in knowing which direction that you should sort of navigate to. Think of this a little bit as a decision tree, right? When we're thinking about all the tree of life insurance, how do we navigate that decision, and where do we navigate a client toward? This is going to be helpful when we consider that. So when you're looking broadly at all of our life insurance products, just in one sort of global look, you're really seeing us trying to accomplish three different things. That first thing is protection. The second is accumulation. And then the last is distribution. So I love what you were sharing with us earlier, and being able to talk through all these different purposes. But protection, death benefit. This is really all about, hey, if something were to happen to me, I want to make sure my loved ones are taken care of. I remember back when I was graduating college, I was in my first job, not making a ton of money. We had our first kid, so we had a young family. And I remember a financial advisor reaching out to us, and they had a meeting with us, and he was really pushing hard a permanent life insurance plan. Even after sort of looking at our financials and looking out at our budget and what we were able to afford, he sold me on the need for protection. I really wanted it. I wanted to buy something, but the permanent policy was out of reach. And so I never ended up buying anything. He never positioned a term policy. So I love what you said about term. Term is not a failure to get somebody in a permanent policy. It's a win to get somebody protected within their means. And I love that. I love that story because that helps build your business as you're expanding and as you're growing. So protection, it's all about that death benefit. Maybe we add the long-term care. That's really the key here. Now, the second part here is accumulation. And we'll talk about the different products here that you can go to with accumulation. But the idea here is you're going to use that life insurance umbrella as a cash value vehicle where you can get positive performance over time and then leverage that cash value maybe in retirement as an income stream. Now, knowing everything we know about life insurance and cash value, the compelling concept here is the fact that we can get that income tax free. So we don't have to worry about that 1099. We don't have to be cognizant of paying those taxes out. We're getting this in net value in our pockets in retirement. And so that's a huge deal. Now that leads into our third idea of distribution. So we don't really get to distribution without accumulation, but that distribution, we're going to be here to help you. If you design a case, let's say in an index UL accumulator 2, where we're showing max funding and income on the back end, we have programs in place like the automated income monitor that's going to help automate that whole process and make it seamless. So your client completes one form and we're going to help them to make sure they stay on track. That sounds like a pretty good idea to me. All right, so let's go through the different products we have here at Nationwide. So just starting at the top, if you have your securities license, you can use our accumulator VUL and our protector VUL. If you're familiar with our IUL suite, the index suite, it's very similar in the sense that, hey, we're using cash value accumulation in our accumulator to drive our bucket of cash so that by the time we get to retirement, we can set ourselves up for a potential systematic distribution income stream to take care of us in retirement. So that's really what the accumulator is for. You're investing directly in funds. That's why you got to have that securities license, and your client's okay with actually participating in the market. And then you have the protector VUL. That is not about the accumulation portion. That's more about death benefit protection. So remember our first sort of protection umbrella, broad stroke here. The protector is going to fit nicely within that concept. The idea is you're going to use the performance to drive down your cash value or cost of insurance charges, therefore paying less premium. It is essentially more budget friendly in our protector to get death benefit protection. So that's what we're trying to do there. As we scroll a little bit further down, you're going to move into our fixed products. Nationwide Care Matters too. We talked about, I loved what you were talking about with long-term care, the statistics there. The nice thing is with our long-term care rider or Care Matters, if you never need the benefit, there's a benefit still to be paid out, either in the form of a cash value living benefit for a client in our IUL, or in the case of Care Matters, our long-term care centric product, a smaller death benefit component. This is really all about that long-term care need. If your client, the only thing they're coming to the table to you with that you uncover as a strong need is the long-term care, I would direct you toward Care Matters 2 as a possible solution there. It's going to get the most leverage, get the most long-term care coverage, and then you still have a smaller death benefit that could pass on at the time of death there. And then as we scroll a little bit further down, we have our Accumulator 2 and Protector 2 plans. These products are very similar in concept to the VUL, the Accumulator and Protector. We're using Accumulator 2 to max fund to drive up that cash value, and then ultimately on the back end have a chance at that systematic income stream depending on our performance. And then with the Protector 2, it's the opposite. It's the opposite side of that same coin. We're looking to minimum fund the most death benefit coverage that we can purchase. And we're going to use the performance of that product to drive that cost of insurance as far as low as we can go. Therefore, it's going to be more budget friendly to fund our death benefit legacy need. The other thing that makes the Protector 2 unique as compared to the Accumulator 2 is our ability to dial in a guaranteed death benefit rider. If your client is concerned about tying up that performance with the protection, you could simply dial in a guaranteed death benefit to kind of help offset that concern. And then we have a no lapse guarantee well. This is a permanent UL plan. Think of this almost like a permanent term plan. It's the idea is, hey, we're going to pay the least amount of premium for the most amount of guaranteed coverage. You're not going to really use this product as a cash value sort of plug. There's not going to be any income potential. It simply is, I want this X amount of dollars of coverage, or here's my funding that I'm willing to pay, and let me purchase the most guaranteed death benefit that I can add. Pairs really well with the long-term care rider that we offer. And by the way, any of our permanent life insurance plans, we can pair that long-term care rider to it, allowing that client to really advance that death benefit under a long-term care need. Something that might be a little bit more unique is our survivorship IUL plan, the SIUL. It's a 2 insured plan where we pay a death benefit out after the second insured passes away. What makes us a little bit unique when you start stacking it up against our other plans is it's the most cost efficient way typically to insure two clients instead of looking at two individual life insurance plans. So it tends to save the couple a little bit of money. Why? Because we're only paying a death benefit after the second death. So when we compare that to two single insured plans, that's why it becomes a little bit more cost efficient. Now, the other unique thing here with the survivorship IUL is the ability to add long-term care. So for instance, if we have $1 million in death benefit, we can add a long-term care rider where it gives the client access to $500,000 in individual long-term care for each of those insureds on that plan. So kind of a nice function with that. Of course, term plans, the idea of having a 10, 15, 20, or even a 30-year term duration. This is really good for those budget clients. I wish going back to when I graduated college and was just getting my feet underneath me, I had a young family, I was sold on life insurance. I wish that advisor had presented to me a term solution. I would have bought it then and there. He didn't. He walked away. Maybe they didn't have term products. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge him too much, but the reality is I didn't have the ability to get protection, which I really believed was important. And then whole life is a way for us to, if you have a client that just really wants, hey, I'm more concerned about death benefit coverage and guarantees, but I also want a little cash value guarantee in there as well, we can look at that whole life as a potential option there. I see some questions coming down. Just want to make sure there's nothing here. Yes, I will try to get the PDF to this. A really nice one-stop shop. If you just want to look at everything that Nationwide offers, we can do that. So we'll get this PDF out. I'm assuming my cutoff is at 2. So I'm going to really fly through this as fast as possible. So what I want to share with you is a couple case studies. I love the case studies that you presented already. I think that is dead on. It gives us a real way of looking for a potential client in the future that can match with our concept that we're trying to showcase. The first one is Accumulator 2. And I'll get through this as much as possible. It is going to be really fast, but I just want to show you the concept because it's really compelling. Once you start looking at these numbers, it begins to make it a little bit more alive. And then you're thinking, wait a minute, I know a client, I know somebody this concept would fit really nicely with. It allows us to really give us an imagination here to see where we can make this fit. And so in this case, we have a 35-year-old preferred non-tobacco individual. They're paying $500 monthly. This is in our Index UL Accumulator 2 plan. It's designed for max cash and accumulation and therefore income on the back end. We're doing what's called an optimal switch. Not as important for right now. Maybe in the future, if you want to dig more into that concept, we could definitely look at that as a future training. But as we dig a little bit further into the case design, we're funding this plan through age 65. That's $180,000 in total premium. Our death benefit has grown to $493. So we have a nice sizable death benefit. We have accumulation. And now we have this nice income stream. Look at this. So we paid in $180,000. We have $34,836 in systematic income that's being received to your client income tax free. Think about showing this to a potential client and pointing out that you paid $180,000. After the dust settles, you've received $696,720 income tax free. That's a gain. So that's growth. That is a gain in cash in your pocket of $516,000. Oh, by the way, you don't have to pay taxes on any of that gain. This is why this becomes really compelling. Think about just saying, hey, I know you talked to me about your goals in retirement, and you said you wanted that lake house near the coast where your family could come visit you maybe 2-3 times a year and spend time with you. How would an extra $34,000 help with that goal, right? This is an opportunity to take somebody's goals in retirement and make it real, to use cash benefits as a way to get us to where we want to go. So that's our Accumulator 2, really designed for a client that's younger, sort of entering in those peak earning years. Anywhere from 30 to 50, 55 years old is prime real estate for this type of concept. Somebody that may be needing additional ways to save for retirement. Maybe they have a 401k plan, they're max funding that. Maybe they've already got several different type of investments going, but they really want to save for retirement in the most tax efficient way. Perfect solution for that. This plan stays in force through age 120. course, we want to do that. If the plan ever lapsed, that would trigger a tax event. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep the policy in force. So we leave just enough cash value in there to make sure we have an in-force policy through age 120. That's the accumulator 2. On the flip side of that, we have the protector 2. This is a plan that's more about death benefit. This is about getting somebody the most amount of coverage for the cheapest amount of money that fits within their budgetary needs. So we have the same 35-year-old, and let's say we are going to go ahead and take the same $500 a month, and we're going to pay that to age 65. And we're going to solve, or we're going to ask the software to come up with the most amount of coverage here. And we may even pair the long-term care rider to this as well. This is going to allow us to show a client something that works within their budget, but still is ultimately helping them have that protection in place for their loved ones. If they pass away prematurely, or even when they pass away, they have a nice sizable death benefit. So for the same $500 that we were showing you before an accumulator to, since this becomes more about death benefit protection, we're able to buy significantly more coverage. You see here, we're at $1.1 million. We're buying a lot more death benefit here because we're not as concerned with building that cash. We're just using that cash value to support that death benefit being keeping in force through age 120. And so we have $1.1 million in coverage. We also have our long-term care rider, $500 a month. And of course, this is assuming that we're getting on average our 5.28%. As we scroll through the case design, you can go to age 65. Through age 65, again, you've paid $180,000. The tax story here is less the income and more the death benefit. So for any investment that you're aware of where you can trade 180 for 1.1 and leverage income tax free, show me the way. And we can do that uniquely within life insurance. We have a scenario here where we're funding this with $180,000, and in return, Nationwide is going to provide a benefit either through long-term care or a death benefit that's income tax free. So that's where this story becomes impactful, very powerful. Think about what $1.1 million can do from a generational wealth standpoint to set up your kids or your grandchildren for success. And you don't have to pay taxes on that. That's not a bad deal at all. And so that's where we're trying to share here with this concept with the Protector 2. If the client gets a little uneasy about tying up that 5.28%, we can dial in a guaranteed death benefit rider. That way, no matter the performance, that a portion of that death benefit can stay in force. So that's where we can sort of play with that guarantee. I'm at 2 o'clock. I did get permission to go a couple minutes extra. I'm going to real quickly just show you our no lapse guarantee. Well, this is that permanent term plan. The idea here is pretty simple. We got maybe somebody that's toward the end of their career, but 50 years old, and they need $500,000 in death benefit. They're not really concerned with the cash value element or anything like that, and they're just looking for guarantees and death benefit coverage. So this is kind of like the Protector 2, only we're not using a performance factor to arrive at our premium. We're just looking for sort of that guarantee death benefit and how much that would cost you. So in this case, we have a $500,000 death benefit, $500,000 long-term care, minimum funding here of $554 monthly. And we can see that we're just paying that throughout the plan. This is an all-year payment. A lot of flexibility here too. If you want to do a 10-year payment, you can do that. If you want to do a payment through age 65, you could do that as well. We're not locked into any sort of premium structure. As long as your client wants to explore that, we can take a look at that, how that would fit for them. But you have your $500,000 death benefit, and then you have your $500,000 long-term care. 2% of that would advance to your client monthly. We're looking at $10,000 a month payment going to your client while on claim after they meet that 90-day elimination period. All right, so that's our no lapse guarantee. Well, the one unique thing I would say with this is if you ever were working with a 35-year-old, because our term product doesn't actually have the ability to add the long-term care rider. But if you wanted to sort of emulate a term and add the long-term care rider, you could potentially do that using this. So we have a 35-year-old in this example. And what we're going to do is just drop this to age 70 down here. And so this becomes essentially a term plan, which is kind of neat. So we're getting this 35-year-old a term plan that's going to be in force through age 70, but we have our long-term care rider, which we can't do on our actual term plan. So this is kind of a unique solution. You can see you get your premium savings. We're down to 102. and it lapses, right? So we're not saying this is going to be a permanent solution for the client. We're just saying, hey, this is what you can afford, but you're concerned with long-term care. Let's at least get you something today. And then maybe in the meantime, we can explore expanding that out and doing a new premium to keep that in force later. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here as well. I kind of like this case design since our term product can't be joined with that long-term care solution. All right, I'll end at one more here. I got 2 minutes here. This is our Care Matters plan. This is that long-term care centric product that I was showing you earlier on our options PDF. This is really designed for somebody that's like looking at their situation. Maybe they already have life insurance in place, or maybe they're just looking at life insurance and they're like, not for me, right? That's not something I'm really interested in, but I am interested in making sure I have long-term care coverage. What you could do is run Care Matters. We have a 50-year-old. Let's say they're willing to pay $350, maybe a payment to age 65. One unique thing with our Care Matters long-term care plan is we can add inflation. So we can throw a 3% compound. That way, as your client ages into post-retirement, they're able to have that long-term care sort of keep up pace with them. So I'm going to calculate this just to show you what this kind of looks like. Now, the reason I like this, it fares nicely with when you start comparing this to standalone long-term care plans in the industry. Because you have the ability to say, hey, if you never need long-term care, there's still benefit to be had. You have a smaller death benefit bucket that gets passed on to the client's beneficiaries. So here's your monthly premium, $350. In year one, we have close to $200,000 of long-term care. That's not bad. But what I want to showcase here is because we added an inflation rider, you see this total long-term care benefit grow. And if we scroll to the next page, looking at age 80, you started off at 200, but now you're at $520,000 in long-term care benefit. Now, as far as a death benefit concerned, you could see that the net death benefit, 66 grand, it's essentially a return of premium. So if you never need claim, the premium gets returned to your client's beneficiary at the time of claim. So it's not there for the death benefit, but it's nice to know that, hey, all that premium that paid, it's not lost on that family either, right? That's meaningful. As far as how it works, here's an example. You have that 63 coming in. You do have that 2-year death benefit bucket. And so this is essentially a death benefit with long-term care. Once you go on claim, this is the first bucket you spend down. Then once you get beyond that bucket, we take you to your 4-year extension benefit. And then ultimately, even if you spend down this entire death benefit on long-term care, we have a residual death benefit, a burial cost policy that will pass on to the client's beneficiary at the time of death. So we're looking at a residual death benefit here of $13,261. $13,261. So I like this concept for somebody that needs long-term care that ultimately is saying, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, it's nice to have something that's paid out even if I don't need anything on the policy. That's where we're really making the distinction here. All right, going back to our page, hopefully you can see how our products can be used for protection, death benefit, legacy, accumulation, using the VUL or IUL to drive cash to set up for an income stream, which leads us to our distribution and how we can help on the back end. I'll pass it back over to your leader here. I know that was really fast, so I apologize about the speed.
Thanks, Daniel. You did a great job. We appreciate it. If we have a few minutes here, if you want to take a few questions for Daniel.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you have a question, you can just type it into the chat. Otherwise, I know you can always ask, call Nationwide or call Jimmy or always call one of your trainers as well to help you with any of these solutions. And there is Daniel's information.
Yeah, that 855 number is also a good resource. If you ever need a quick question, you can't get a hold of Jimmy, or I know Aaron's your internal as well. You can always call that 855 number and they're ready to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. Yeah, I will mention one of the things that I love doing with Nationwide is I work with the sales desk and our internal and have them help me run the illustrations. Just dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure everything's up on the up and up, and I got everything ready. And it's just great having that support and then delivering that to the client. So it's really some great resources from Nationwide. So we love that.
Awesome. It's good to hear.
All right. It doesn't look like we have any questions right now. So Again, thanks everyone for attending. Daniel, thank you for your time, and appreciate you working with us and giving us that information. A lot of great resources, of course, and we can dive deeper into those more one-on-one. But